Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Diplomatic Enclave. I am your host, Khalid. We have the pleasure and the privilege of having with us an ambassador who belongs to a republic, a country that is a brotherly country to Pakistan. It has many peculiarities. Let me cite just some of them. It is the second longest coastline in the world after Canada. It has the largest Muslim population in the entire world. It is also the largest archipelago in the world with thousands of islands. It has a mine that is known as the Grasberg mine, which is located near a location called Punkak Jaya, which is the largest gold mine and the third largest copper mine in the entire world. It has also a lake that is called the Lake Toba, and this Lake Toba is the largest volcanic lake in the entire world. It also boasts of a temple that is known as the Borobudur temple, which is located in central Java, which is the largest Buddhist temple in the entire world. That and so many other important and beautiful things make up this republic that is known as Indonesia. And we have the privilege to have with us the ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency, Mr. Iwan Suyudhie Amri with us. Thank you very much, Excellency, to have given us the time.
Thank you for having me, Omar. Thank you.
Sir, you have spent around 4.5 years in Pakistan, and now you are about to leave this brotherly country. What kind of memories, sir, will you take with you when you leave Pakistan?
Thank you, Omar. So, since my arrival to Pakistan 2016, when my government assigned me to be the ambassador of Pakistan, I felt honored because I will be coming to such an important country for Indonesia, Pakistan. So now it's time for me to come back to my country, and the memories that I will bring deeply in my mind and my heart is two things. One is the natural beauty of Pakistan, because Pakistan is belong to the rare country who blessed by God having 4 seasons. Indonesia is only 2 seasons. And the second thing is the people. The people of Pakistan is very nice people, hospitable, and warm people. So those two things are will be always memorable for me, because spending 4.5 years in Pakistan, I don't have any problem in my professional life and in my personal life. My wife, Rita, she's like very much this country. So she went around with her friend, Pakistani friend, and a diplomatic corps friend, and also Indonesian ladies. So if you see her Facebook, you will see every corner of nice places in Pakistan with her.
All right. So of course you go with a lot of good memories of our country, and of course the seasons as you mentioned. You've got 2 seasons, as you also mentioned, a wet season and a dry season, not like the extremes of temperatures like we have in Pakistan. But has this 2-season republic also been affected by the climate change?
Yes, 2 seasons is, we are archipelagic country. And we have 2 seasons, dry and wet. And we are having 17,000 islands. And the total area of Indonesia is 1.9 million square meters. So if you fly from the west end to the east end, it takes 9 hours. It's from the northern to the southern, it will be 5 hours. So it's really a big country, but we are an archipelago country. So the season actually having 2 seasons is good for agriculture, because we can plant agriculture all the year. But we cannot, of course, like here in Pakistan, we still have opportunity to go for skiing in the northern part. But we can also enjoy the beach close to Karachi. But in Indonesia, 2 seasons sometime, if during the rainy season, Yeah, of course, it affects some areas in Indonesia with flood.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we are also rich with volcanoes, so some natural disaster also frequently happening in Indonesia. And we are in the ring of fire, so some natural disaster also happening in Indonesia. Now, climate change is really a new challenge for not only Indonesia as a tropical country, but also I think around the globe now facing the severe impact of climate change.
All right. Excellency, you also talked about the Republic of Indonesia being an archipelago of islands, of thousands and thousands of islands, which means there must be so many different native people talking so many different languages. How important is it for your country, for all these native people to retain their native languages?
Yeah, that's very basic tenet of our nation, because we are diverse country in terms of cultures and ethnicity. So since the beginning of our republic come into being in 1945, it's the culmination of long struggle of how to unite the many ethnicity which is spread out living in various islands. But in 1908, the youth of Indonesia from all over areas, island of Indonesia, they agreed to be the nation of Indonesia. But we agree to preserve our diversity, because that's the fact of life. We have to live side by side, we have to respect each other, but still having the same spirit to be the one nation, which is Indonesian nation. And they declared one nation, one language, and one state of Indonesia. So until now, all the leaders, all the people recognize the importance of retaining, preserving the diversity, because diversity is the richness of the country in terms of culture, in terms of culture, languages, but we have still uphold our principle as the unitary state of Indonesia.
All right. Now, it's a unitary sovereign state, you mentioned.
Yes, yes.
And it's also a transcontinental country, which is basically based in Southeast Asia. How is it governed? What is the system? Is it similar to that in Pakistan, or is it different?
Formally is different, but in practice it's similar to Pakistan. Even though we are a unitary independent sovereign country, we give the authority to local government by give more autonomous authority to local government in the level of region and also in the province. But of course, the overall guidelines for national development is still in the central government. There are 4 sectors which is belong to central government, which is foreign policy, security, and financial. And also, there are 3, foreign policy, security affairs, and financial. But the rest goes to respective local government.
All right. All right. Now, of course, I can understand that it's very well governed because you have had no issues so far. But there is one pandemic that has affected the world over, that is the COVID-19. How much has Indonesia and all of its thousands of islands been affected by it? And what are the measures that your government has taken to curtail the spread of it?
Yeah, COVID now is becoming a problem for any country in the world. And Indonesia as an archipelago country, it was considered blessed during the pandemic, but we know now is a very difficult challenge to control the people because not the people are really following the SOPs, in particular in rural areas, and government is trying to manage by a series of policy. It's like here in Pakistan, how to strike the balance between the interest of public health and also the economic development. So we cannot put the other behind the another. So we have to try to manage in balanced manner, because economic also very important for the people. So because of the pandemic, many layoff in the factory, many people losing their job, and the productivity of the SME also, the tourism sector also affected very seriously. So because of that, that government is trying to what's it, to mix the policy, like in Pakistan. Pakistan is a smart lockdown, we know, which has been successfully implemented, and in Indonesia we are also doing the similar policy on that. And Pakistan is lucky because now the situation is encouraging. The numbers of people recovered is almost 90%, while in Indonesia is around 74%. But the total number, we are a little bit less from Pakistan. We are now is 170,000, and the recovery is 74, but in Pakistan is 90. The number of death, we are slightly bigger than Pakistan. Now all the government in the central and the local government is trying to do their best. So, but unfortunately, we are not reached the peak yet. While here in Pakistan is last June, now is slowing down. But in Indonesia, expert now is predicted it will be the end of this month or next month. So we are still in the situation of fighting COVID.
All right. So I can understand that health is a priority for your country, and the way to manage health and the way to manage the health of all your citizens is also very important. Another factor that is very important to the Republic of Indonesia is education. The first 12 years are compulsory for everybody who is part of Indonesia. Has education also been affected by COVID-19, and if so, are there some measures that you have taken? Otherwise, how important is education to Indonesia?
Yeah, education is one sector that is really affected, because now most of the schools are closed. They are doing long distance by virtual, and that's really giving the challenge to the parents. So the parent has also doing the schooling for their kids.
You've got grandchildren as well. They must also have issues with their education.
Yes, it's very difficult for education sectors. But we, of course, as a developing countries, as a middle income economy, Indonesia is also put the education as a priority. It's very important. So our national budget, which is this year a total government budget is 35 billion US dollars. So for the education is 20% from the national budget. So it's very important.
All right. Apart from education and health, of course, that are priority areas for you, there's one more thing that symbolizes that country, that is the heritage, the culture of any country. How important is preserving your culture, your traditions? Because as you also said, you are an archipelago of thousands of islands. Those islands have their traditions, have their own cultures, have their own way of livelihoods. How important is for the Republic of Indonesia to preserve those heritage of all those islands?
Yeah, that's as we spoke earlier about the diversity of Indonesia. So preserving culture is a must for us, because we are the country, which is one of the, I think, one of the country which is rich with culture diversity and ethnicity. So the preserving culture is one of the government priority. So in the school, for example, there are all student has to be respect to other student culture, which is coming from many places, many culture background. By having diversity, we have also to try to understand each other, because by having frequent communication with other culture within Indonesia, it will also strengthen our feeling of togetherness. So preserving culture is paramount to our nation. Yeah.
All right. Like in Pakistan also, we've got different provinces who've got their folk music, their folk dances, and we try to preserve as much of that as possible. How much importance do you give to your folk music? Because I know you've got many different dance forms, you've got different folk musics and their forms, and the dances are believed by scholars to have had their beginnings in rituals and religious worship as well. So how much of that is also given more importance in this day and age? Because now that we have a day when life has become so fast and it's everything is through the internet, do the old traditions still have a place in your way of governing?
Yeah, indeed. You are right. You rightly mentioned that now in the modern, the internet, everything. Now, I think people is they know exactly the true needs of them to preserve their original culture, and both the government and the people in Indonesia are actively promoting the tradition, the culture. So by organizing festival from one province to another, exchange of visit from one particular province culture to another province, that kind of national calendar. So we have at least 300 national calendar every year in every region. So for example, in Java Island itself, we have so many culture, because Java Island is divided into 4 parts of culture. For example, in the western part of Java, we call Sundanese. They have different culture. And then in the central Java, we have different culture. In the eastern Java, we have different culture. Not to mention in eastern part, in the Papua, in island of Sumatra, in island of Kalimantan. So that's basically our rich culture that we have to preserve. That's keep also the feeling of satisfaction for students who exhibit their culture in national or regional or even international festival.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's very important, because a lot, for example, in your grandchildren who are young, don't understand much of what their heritage is also about, and they have such a rich and beautiful and colorful heritage culture, and it's very important for them to understand where they come from, what their heritage means to them. So it's very important that the government puts in the certain measures, as you've just pointed out, in order for the new generation that is so tech savvy to also understand what their culture is all about. Now, you've got, I mean, we did eat some of your traditional food just before beginning the show, but what is your traditional cuisine in Indonesia all about? Is it spicy like we eat in Pakistan? Is it with a lot of oil, a lot of rice, a lot of bread that we eat, the roti that we eat here as well, a lot of meat, or is it different than Pakistan?
Yeah, it's slightly different. Most of Indonesian eat rice, so rice is a staple food for Indonesia. While in Pakistan, you have roti. Roti is not really, of course, common in some city, in urban people, they do the breakfast roti, but mostly Indonesian, they do the breakfast with rice.
Okay.
And the spicy, some of the places are really similar to Pakistani food, like in the island of Sumatra, West Sumatra in particular. They have exactly similar, like here is, for example, mutton kurma or beef kurma. We have in island of Sumatra, we call it rendang. It's made from meat, it's caramelized meat.
Oh.
So it's very famous, rendang.
Okay.
And
Sweet and spicy.
yes, sweet and spicy. Oily, some part are oily like in the Western Sumatra, but in my hometown, for example, in West Java, it's a little bit different. So it's not too spicy, it's not too sweet.
Okay.
It's a little bit salty. But in the eastern part of Java, it's a little bit sweet and spicy.
All right. That's
So it's many every province has its own authentic and original food.
That
So
is
very
wonderful.
different.
I mean, you really give anybody who you talk to, I think, the need or the desire to visit your beautiful country and all the islands. I mean, I'm sure one cannot visit all the islands
Yes.
that the Republic is
Yeah.
made of, but at least the major islands that you've talked about. But if one has the inclination to go to Indonesia, where should one go? What are the places that one needs to visit?
For Pakistani or from other countries, I think the first place that you have to go to Indonesia is to Bali Island, because this year Bali Island is the top tourist destination in Asia. And other place is Lombok. Lombok is now is number 16 in 25 Asian countries. And because Bali is a nice island, it's paradise in the world, but we still have another interesting and nice places, like you mentioned about the Lake Toba in the island of Sumatra, for example. That's also very nice. And in Jakarta itself, we have 1,000 island, which is just around 50 minutes from the city of Jakarta to the north. So many places. But Bali is very famous, so if you are going to Indonesia, not going to Bali, I think it's not complete yet. And
also the largest Buddhist temple that one should
the
visit.
largest Buddhist temple you mentioned, it's in your opening, is Borobudur. It is located in central Java. So it's central Java, very nice also.
All right.
So that's some places that's really very popular in not only in Indonesia but also tourists around the globe.
All right. And of course, Indonesia is very tourist friendly as well. You've got a huge number of tourists, and this is also part of your economy. Tourism is also part of your economy. Well, what are the sports that you normally play? I know that badminton is played there, football is played there, boxing, basketball. But then there are some traditional sports like sepak takraw or karapan sapi in Madura Island. What are the other sports that you have played, for example, or people still play in this day and age?
Yeah, the most popular sport is tug of war.
Okay.
It's very popular. So in every
Is there a typical name for the tug of war in
Indonesia? Yes, tarik tambang.
Tarik Tamba.
Tarik tambang is very popular. In every national day we celebrated. This kind of sport is always very popular in even in adult people and the kids.
Okay.
And many other things like compete to get things valuable by climbing very slippery trees.
Oh, is it on certain occasions, or are there special days to do these sports, or these sports happen all days of the year?
Mostly a special occasion, in the National Day or big celebration of particular culture.
All right. Your economy that you talked about, that also has been impacted by the COVID-19. What are the different major sectors? I know tourism is one, and we've talked about that. What are the other important sectors, and what are the important exports and imports of your country?
I see. So the sector that's really contributed to Indonesian economy, as you mentioned, is the agriculture sector, like palm oil.
All right.
and then industry is food and beverage, and then textile like clothing, and some of the handicraft which is exported to other countries, and also the tourism, as you mentioned. And the most good that we import from outside is machinery.
All right.
Mostly machinery and
That you
some
import from other countries?
yes,
Okay.
from other countries, from Europe, from China, from Japan, and also some material for textile.
All right.
Cotton from Pakistan, we are importing, and then also quinoa from Pakistan, and rice also from Pakistan.
No mangoes from Pakistan?
Mangoes not yet. Inshallah next year is starting.
Okay.
Because we are also keen to get mango, one of the best mango in Pakistan.
That is so true. Okay, so that's interesting to note that of course you have got a different variety of exports and imports from your country. But if we had to look at the world in general, who are your strongest trading partners in the world? Which countries?
The strongest, there are four. One is now is China. Before was United States, but still United States, China, and then Republic of Korea, Japan, and European Union, India, and Pakistan also is one of the strong trading partner for Indonesia.
All right, all right. Any partner when it comes to economy or any other facet is part of the way you treat it, you cooperated with it, or have a bilateral relation with it. Of course, that is part of your foreign policy. How would you categorize the Indonesian foreign policy? What are the basic pillars on which your foreign policy stands? I know you've got a free and an active foreign policy, but if you would like to tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, the principle of free and active basically is free to decide, free to react, free to choose the policy based on our national interests. And active, we have to be active in promoting peace and security around the globe. So, and we belong to the country who really in the forefront promoting a good, friendly neighbor and cooperation with anybody. So if I may say, we are trying to exercise our foreign policy to create million friends and zero enemy.
That
So
is
that's
wonderful.
basically.
That is wonderful, because you know the Republic of Indonesia is part of so many important organizations like the OIC, like ASEAN, like the Non-Aligned Movement, like the World Trade Organization, like the OPEC as well, that you are more or less part of as well. And your role is very important in all of these organizations. But let's come to one organization that I recently read about. The United Nations Security Council adopted a resolution that was put forward by you. And of course, your country held the Council's presidency for the month of August 2020. And that encourages women's participation in the UN peacekeeping force. How important is women empowerment and women emancipation to Indonesia?
Yes, women is, we know, I think, women is the most, belong to the most vulnerable groups in society. So if there is a conflict locally or even regionally or everywhere, so women is always becoming the victim of the conflict. So that is why we believe if we can bring women into play in promoting peace and security, that will be very instrumental. Because women is more sensitive to, if I may say, is more sensitive than man to humanity, to the difficult situation. So that is why we are proposing the role of women in peacekeeping, because by having women taking important role in promoting peace, definitely it will significantly contribute to our effort in promoting peace and security.
So now that 4.5 years have passed that you are in Pakistan and you knew about Pakistan even before you came to the country, how would you describe, if I as a layman would ask you about bilateral relations between your country and ours, how do you feel as an Indonesian that those relations have developed over the decades since these relations were established between the two brotherly countries?
Thank you, Omar. So, Pakistan is belong to the country which established diplomatic relation with Indonesia since the independence. Immediately after the independence of both Indonesia and Pakistan, we established only 3 months after Pakistan independent, we opened representative office in Karachi, then elevated to full diplomatic relation in April 1950. Since the beginning, our founding father was very close. The first president of Indonesia, Mr. Sukarno, with the founder of Pakistan, Quaid Azam
Muhammad Ali Jinnah,
Jinnah, and also President Ayub Khan. So it was a very productive bilateral relation in almost all sector of cooperation. But then in the 1970s, it's a little bit slowing down because of the dynamic in respective region. But starting in 1980s to 90s until now we are moving forward, that both Indonesia and Pakistan is really keen to promote and to establish more stronger relation in all areas. If I may just mention a few, for example, in the defense cooperation, we have a very solid foundation because we signed the DCA, Defense Cooperation Agreement, in 2010. And now we have almost 3 mechanisms of cooperation, because the Navy to Navy talk we have already. When I just arrived, we started to work on Army to Army talk. Now we have already Army to Army talk, and inshallah, starting next year we will have Air Force to Air Force talk.
All right.
So the 3.
So the defense cooperation is one of the very strong aspects of the bilateral cooperation
Yes.
between two countries.
And then in the economic sector, after 2013, we signed the preferential trade agreement. So our bilateral trade increased very significantly.
When are we moving towards a free trade agreement?
Immediately.
Okay.
Because when I just arrived 2016, it was 2.1 billion. So after 2013 we signed, it was only 1 billion, the total trade. After signing, increased to 2.1 billion in 2016.
All right.
And just last 2 years, 2018, was 3.1 billion.
All right.
So very, very good progress in, and we agreed to elevate the PTA into FTA.
All right.
So the second round, the third round of negotiation on that is supposed to be this year. Because of the pandemic COVID, we suspended for a while. Inshallah, next year it will continue to talk, to consult each other with Pakistan to fine-tune, to have a mutually agreed formula on free trade agreement between Indonesia and Pakistan.
Any cooperation, of course, its foundation is laid down when your high-level delegations come to each other's countries. When it comes to Indonesia, we've had Mr. Sukarno, who came in 1963. He was the first president from Indonesia. Then Joko Widodo, His Excellency, also came. He was the second Indonesian president. When are we going to have a third high-level visit in your point of view?
The third visit, I think, because not normally, maybe in the exchange of visits between the highest ranking leader of the country. So after the visit of Indonesian President Joko Widodo, so we hope in the future the Prime Minister or President of Pakistan will visit to Indonesia.
But that is very important, you know, to further cement the already existing relations between the two countries. And of course, you talked about the cooperation in different areas, whether it be economy, whether it be the preferential trade agreement, whether it be other facets, the defense cooperation between the two countries. And you talked about the trade also between the two countries that has increased over the years. You talked about in 2013 to 2016, how that has improved. Bilateral consultative forum between the Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan. The first meeting was held in 2017. How important is that also to strengthen bilateral relationship?
That's a very important bilateral consultation meeting, because that was initiated when I just arrived.
Okay.
So actually we have the MOU with Pakistan, which is the forum for bilateral consultation in the ministerial level. But because of the different institutional arrangement, so it's not materialized yet. Okay. Because in our system, if we are talking bilateral consultation in the level of minister, it must be chaired by the foreign minister, while here in Pakistan, it was chaired by Ministry of Commerce.
All right.
So because it's a little bit institutional not harder, institutional need institutional adjustment in terms of relation. Then we agreed how to find the bridge. Then we agreed to have a bilateral consultative forum. So we are supposed to be hosting for the third round, which is this year. But because of the COVID, then we postponed. But the MOPA, he agreed how to find a way to proceed with this process. So inshallah, the third round of the meeting, it will be organized next year, inshallah.
Right, inshallah. ASEAN is a very important forum of which Indonesia is a part of. How can Indonesia help the agreement between PAK and ASEAN further cement that agreement?
Since the beginning, actually, Indonesia is always supportive for Pakistan to be the dialogue partner of ASEAN. Now Pakistan is a sectoral dialogue, because there are two levels of dialogue partner. One is sectoral and one is full dialogue partner.
All right.
So the full dialogue partner, there's one requirement that a particular country should be a party to the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation. And I think Pakistan willing to be the party. But the procedures now is in the situation of moratorium, because many countries from European, Latin America, they're also very keen to be the dialogue partner of ASEAN. So inshallah, if ASEAN, all ASEAN members agreed to open the moratorium, then it will be the opportunity for countries, including in particular Pakistan, to be.
But you'll always be supporting Pakistan's
Yes,
stance.
Indonesia is always supporting Pakistan to be the full dialogue partner of ASEAN, because it was initiated during Indonesian chairmanship of ASEAN in 2001.
All right, wonderful, sir. Now, of course, you understand a lot about the dynamics of the cooperation of the relationship between the Republic of Indonesia and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Both are republics, both are Muslim countries, both are brotherly countries. And you have worked on different areas of cooperation. You have worked to further strengthen those areas of cooperation. What, in your point of view, are the sectors which lack cementing or which lack cooperation, which need to be worked upon to further highlight and strengthen that bond of friendship that both countries have?
Thank you, Omar. So, tourism, I think, is need to be promoted. Tourism cooperation between Pakistan and Indonesia, because as we spoke earlier, Pakistan has 4 seasons, which is you have the northern part, which is very nice, and we don't have that kind of.
And Pakistan has also opened up its tourism. It has an e-visa policy now for so many different countries, and it's trying to bring in more and more tourists. But unfortunately, because of COVID-19,
yes,
things went on a standstill. But now that inshallah, Pakistan is coming out of that COVID-19 peak season, we really hope, and I hope the Republic of Indonesia can help Pakistan with that.
On the
tourism sector, to help it formulate policies which will help Pakistan strengthen its tourism sector.
Yes, I think I do agree with you. So we have to establish more institutional cooperation between the Ministry of Tourism in Indonesia and here in Pakistan, because like I mentioned earlier, we have Bali Island, we have so many nice beaches all over Indonesia, because we have 17,000 islands, but we don't have the nice area like Gilgit-Baltistan, Hunza. So that's really complementary to each other. So the tourism is one of the area which is need more promotion. And the second area is in education. Even though we have already 16 MOU between well-known university in Pakistan and also well-known university in Indonesia, but I think we need more, because here also in Pakistan has a very good system of educational system, and Indonesia also. So by having more frequent people-to-people contact, be in the tourism sector and the education, it will strengthen mutual understanding between Indonesian and Pakistani, which is, you mentioned, brotherly country, and I do agree with you. So by having more communication, more deeper understanding to each other, it will accelerate, I think, cooperation in all areas.
Also in culture, I think we need to have more cultural troops coming to Pakistan with your musicians, with your artists, so that Pakistan also knows how beautiful and how rich a country Indonesia is, and vice versa. You could also have our delegations go to our musicians go to have fusion in music, have fusion in different art forms as well, because you have so many different art forms. So I think both countries can benefit from each other's experience in that field as well.
Indeed. Yeah, during my tenure, I tried to do my best. So just last 2 years, we brought the cultural troupe from Indonesia to Pakistan. We organized the diplomatic reception in Serena. It was welcomed by Pakistan friend here, and also work together with some Pakistani friend in Indonesia, invited very famous musician from Pakistan to Indonesia also.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And now, sir, finally, now that you're about to leave, we wish you all the very best on your future endeavors in Indonesia and in other countries as well. But what kind of message would you like to give to Pakistan now that you are leaving your brotherly country?
So before I say the message, if I may, I just express my feeling, because I will leave this beautiful country, is actually I will be missing very much Pakistan. So this is the nice country, nice people, rich with natural resources. So my message to my Pakistani brother and sister: be proud of being Pakistani. You have youth, very talented youth in Pakistan, and I also impressed by the resilience of Pakistani. So you will have a bright future, because 4 years and a half I witnessed the progress of Pakistan. Many infrastructure development, and now the city of Islamabad and Rawalpindi is much different and much better compared to when I was just arrived. So be optimistic to be the Pakistani, and I'm sure you will have a better future, more prosper and more progress, Pakistan state and Pakistan people.
Thank you so very much, Excellency Amri, to have opened up in such a candid manner to us, your Pakistani brothers here, and send that beautiful message while leaving your country. It's very important, sir, and I feel through the question and answers that we've had, that these are two brotherly countries that share so much in common, and that are building on their relationship, whether it be in defense, whether they be in economy, and there will be other fields like tourism and other sectors, and education, as you pointed out, that will be further strengthened in the days to come. It's very important, sir, in my point of view, that two countries, when they build a future together, they become better friends, they become better partners, and that is how they lead hand in hand for the world and for their people to live in an environment, in places where there's a common understanding on different aspects of life. Thank you very much, Excellency Amri, to have opened up to us, to have given us an outlook of what Indonesia stands for, and what the friendly relationship with Pakistan also is and will be in the coming days and years.
Thank you, Omar, for having me. It's really a pleasure to talk to you in the last day of my stay here in Pakistan, a great country, a great people. So if I may just say thank you to all Pakistani through you for warmness and hospitable rendered to me during my tenure in Pakistan, because without that, it's almost impossible for me to do my job here in Pakistan. So once again, thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome, Excellency.